We got this.
Unless they don't generate a whole lot.
Yeah, maybe everybody's using cans.
I thought, I've seen the Kipper Devs just packed on Fourth of July, and we walked over there Fourth of July about 4:30.
0 turn, 60-inch deck.
And there was
I'm gonna tell you,
people in the
it is more fun.
What about down here?
Oh, I don't know.
I had one.
It's fun, hello.
It was mediocre.
I thought
It
that
was
I
what?
don't sit there and say, ooh, I
I
can't
don't
wait to
go
get what I want, but hey, if I got more lawn, that's the way to do it.
I had a 52. My yard isn't that huge.
Excuse me,
And I
not paying
went
my
to
bill.
a total of 60-volt bush.
Text me the next morning and said, Sharon, can you please come back and pay your tab? I texted her back and I said, excuse me, I did pay my tab. I said, Jay Kaiser was sitting right there when I handed my money to her, along with the check. Then she did it to me the second time.
And my
At the end of my phone, her. I thought, you can't run a business better than that, maybe you should shut
Never
down.
there.
And that's what I told her too. I said, you can't run your business any better
It's
than
big
that,
enough
you
to
need to shut
stick,
down.
put in, break your ankle,
I could see
Yeah,
that.
we just
know how to
Yeah, trap.
try
I
urine
don't
and
know,
stuff.
but yeah, and it just happened to me, and, I was
We
there
always
for
laugh,
Christine Acke's thing afterwards. You know, they had, and then they went, everybody's up there.
I think
And
they're
the next
starting
one,
to have that. We had a multiple
I said, I'm done.
I saw one across a neighbor's house one day, so they were starting to pop up.
And then I told Jay Kaiser about it, I said,
One day,
Jay, she says, you're not paying my bill. He said, I was sitting right there when you handed me money. I said, I know you were, and I told her.
There's a lot, fenced lot. It was infested. All you saw was,
I don't usually go to the house.
yeah, they were everywhere. I said, why? No, why are they there? No, no, no.
They're back home watching.
I worry about, did you see them? Right now, they're back.
I sit in Sandy West's driveway, actually. I can't see the brown ones, but I can see the ones, because the trees, if I sit in my driveway, there's a couple of trees that have grown up since I moved there. So it's kind of, they block some of it, so we just move over to Sandy West's driveway.
I don't
because
care, that's
they're not
fine.
anywhere, they're at Aaron's, so we heard that.
Well,
So we sit in their driveway, and we can
they
see.
don't, they could jump the fence, it's just a little.
We see the high
You
up.
hear it back there all the time.
I just can't
They
see.
didn't go as high as they should have. I think it was too humid,
crazy.
air was too heavy. That's why it was so smoky.
I was seeing how we get in.
It was really, it was like, and I never had so much stuff fall on me, cardboard and soot.
I don't
My
know.
hair was full of soot, like little teeny weeny pieces of coal.
Those people on the corner for me,
Big birds.
it's, oh,
I gotta watch from the sky too.
I bet you they spent probably $5,000 in
I can hear owls
fireworks.
out there all the time.
They started like on Thursday
I don't know
night,
how to tell them.
Thursday, Friday, all afternoon Saturday, all Saturday night.
And, some big, huge bird, huge wingspan. They must have a big.
Amanda Rose? Here. Adam Turnbull?
Here.
Karen Greenlee?
Here.
Sherry Farming? Here. And Dawn.
Okay, first item on the agenda is reviewing the tree/stump ordinance. We talked about this last month, and I think we had decided that we were just going to remove the section E for the license for tree trimming, and then define the tree removal of including the stump, taking it to the ground. So I don't think we needed to do anything other than make a motion to send it to the board, or is there anything more we need to do with that done?
Well, in my email the other day, I think you need to talk to the Streets and Parks Committee about it too, to make sure they're good with it. And nobody really asked us to do this. Are we doing it for that one person?
Well, I mean, he asked at the meeting, which is why I originally brought it up, but we had discussed the tree ordinance a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and then we just never did anything with it. I don't really know why the Streets and Parks Committee would review it, because this is strictly dealing with trees on private property, not any village-owned trees. I don't don't know what your thoughts are on, like, this, I don't think this tree section has to do with any village-owned trees or trees and parks, which we don't have to necessarily have an ordinance about, because if you wanna take them down, you just take them down.
Right, cause like the trees on the terrace basically belong to the property owner anyways. So,
I mean, if anything, it would maybe be a public safety issue. But even that, like, if this, the way this is written, it gives you the right to determine if a tree needs to come down. And then if the property owner has a problem with it, then they can appeal to the board, and the board can approve or deny their appeal. So again, I just don't know why we need to go in front of streets and parks to make any changes to it. And I think this was just a follow-up. I mean, it was spurred from the gentleman at the board meeting asking about it. But this was something that we were in the works on for a while, and we just dropped it for some reason.
I don't think it's actually been in the works, but because when Eric sends these letters, all hell's gonna break loose. And I think streets and parks, I don't care, you all should be aware of it. The thing about changing an ordinance is that until the book is recodified, nobody's gonna know it's here except us. It's not gonna be on the website, it's not corrected on the website, it's not corrected at the digital copy that we have online, or at the library. I think they have one. So, to just change an ordinance, I feel like we're changing it for that one guy. He brought it up before, and nobody thought it was worth entertaining to change the ordinance. So I want you to be aware of that. And usually the board kind of decides to change an ordinance, not just the ordinance committee, not
But
just.
the board can make the decision to not change it if the committee sends.
Yeah, but you're wasting your time and you're wasting my time to go ahead and type up an ordinance that, then to have them not want to do it
and I
when you
could,
get to the
If
board.
I may step in here, I think you might be kind of missing the feeling of the change of the ordinance. I don't think making those two small changes that we suggested would in any way benefit that one individual who brought it up, because we are not changing wording to retroactively do anything to anybody that has the stumps in their yards. I mean, Eric's had the ability to issue letters ever since you've been around, right? Like,
right,
you just haven't had the backing.
right, there's been
So-
kind of false promise,
Yeah.
you know, but, I mean, I see both sides, and I see, like, the license for trimming. In the 5 years I've been here, I've never had one person call and say, hey, do I need a license?
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of a moot point, but, like, you know, to include the stump, it's kind of like, you know, a car advertisement, like, buy this Chevy Traverse and you get 4 tires with it. Well, obviously, you know, like, the stump is part of the tree. So, I guess to change it to say that, and, like, interpretation would be stump is part of the tree.
You would think.
Yeah.
However,
Well, right.
some legal guy might decide that that's a technicality that they could have a problem with.
What about when you're going to get that certificate, so that if anybody said, how can you tell me that it needs to get done, you could say, I have a certificate that qualifies me to tell you that.
You're right.
Are you able to get that?
I'm working on a $7 million treatment plant. I'm cleaning up storm damage.
Well, I just
And,
want you to be able to have your,
Yeah.
you know, so that if somebody comes at you,
Right.
you can say, yeah, because you know somebody's gonna
Well, and
ask you,
that's
how can you
fine,
tell me?
but,
And that is then where the appeal to the board comes in, if they wanna get an arborist
Right.
to come out, they can do that. But, okay, then here is where we have a problem. You're going to send letters to enforce this ordinance. But then we're going to choose not to enforce the part that talks about requiring licenses, because we don't wanna change the ordinance, because the board didn't, like, okay, so then are we right back where we started, where we're just not going to do anything because it's too sticky?
I mean, the fact of the reason why we're here is because the stumps and the dead trees, and there's no follow through. Like I said, I have no problem writing all these out and sending every one of them, and standing behind my decision as far as like infected, diseased, hazardous. But I need the board
To back you.
to back me when the first guy comes here and appeals it, and they say no, it's fine. Well, then it should all be fine, and we're just gonna live under a bunch of dead trees. But I mean, the license thing, it's never even been an issue. It's
Right, but it's part of the exact same code that we're trying to enforce. And that's, where you can't just pick and choose what parts of the ordinances we wanna enforce or not enforce. And, I understand you want the backing of the board, and I think that would be a bad idea. So, like, that part can go with the board. Going to another committee isn't going to do anything. But every case needs to be heard. If somebody's going to appeal it, every case needs to be heard on a case-by-case basis. Obviously, that gentleman on Baldwin came, that wasn't an official appeal, but he believes the tree is alive. Now, he would have to prove that, because you're the one saying it needs to come down. He's saying it's safe and doesn't. Well, now we need him to come forward with some proof, and you probably should come to the board with your evidence, because not everybody that's on the board is necessarily familiar with that property. But, some maybe are going to be denied by the board and some might be approved. We can't just, like I said, pick and choose what we want to use to our advantage out of the code, and that's why I think the code needs to be cleaned up. But that's my opinion.
I don't know what we would do as a committee to officially back Eric, because
We don't necessarily have the right.
technically the
general
board
laws.
has already backed Eric's decisions by hiring him.
Right.
board.
And Streets and Parks doesn't have the authority for there is no board that governs tree removal. That kind of falls strictly on you by section A. It says Public Works Director is in charge of the maintenance and removal of trees. Kind of puts it all on you, and so you report directly to the board, not necessarily to a committee.
Unless they do the appeal. And then-
Unless they do.
Right.
So can we make a motion to recommend that the board be made aware that Eric is going to begin to enforce this?
I think it should be on the board agenda. I don't necessarily know that this committee needs to make that recommendation.
No, if we're not-
because we don't
We're not
have
gonna
anything
change
to
the
do.
ordinance, then
If
we're
we're
not
not
gonna change it.
allowed to change the ordinance, then this is not worth discussing at this time, because tree removal is not under the jurisdiction of any committee.
Does that sound appropriate to you if we just put it on the agenda for the board to make them aware that you are gonna begin enforcing this list?
And then if the board wants to tell you not to, I guess we can at that time. So we're gonna, I guess, do we have a motion to table the ordinance changes, or?
I'm really confused.
I think we need to make a motion to send this to the board, that Eric is going to begin enforcing the tree ordinance. And I make that motion.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries to put that on the board agenda.
Wait, I have some questions here. If you want me to make the changes, I'll make the changes, and we can present it as a done ordinance. Because now I don't know what you're doing. I don't understand what you're doing. Either way, the board has to stand behind Eric, no matter what changes you make.
It's two separate issues. Eric wants to send letters to property owners that have dead trees.
Right.
I wanted to, or the board or the committee, was discussing cleaning up the ordinance so it's easier to enforce. But that doesn't seem to have any backing, so if we don't want to change the ordinance, then we're just going to enforce it as is.
I think, I think we're all getting confused here, because the statement that you made was that you have this list that Eric has, and all hell's gonna break loose when he starts enforcing it. And that you wanted to make everybody aware that this list was coming.
Yes.
So I think that what we're saying is that as a committee, since as you laid out, the codifying process takes a long time and is not readily available, that issue doesn't need to happen right now. But that we need to make the board aware of what Eric's going to begin doing so that they are prepared for that.
And especially, like, we need to do this now so that people have time. We're not pushing this down the road to December where you tell people in December they need to cut their trees down in 14 days. Like, now is the time to do it.
Does that clear it up?
So for now, we're tabling any changes to the ordinance until we have time to make this and codify it. And we're just gonna go with it as is. But Eric is going to, on a separate issue, start enforcing the tree ordinance as is.
Okay, so can you defend the changes that you're making in the ordinance at the board meeting?
We're not making any changes.
You don't wanna make any changes now? You don't wanna take out the license and trimming?
I would like to. I don't know if we have a motion to make those changes, and since we don't have it written up, it can't go to the board before Eric goes to the board to say that he's going to enforce the code as it is written. So if we have to wait for the whole codification program and get it up on the website and all that, we are going to be in winter and we're not going to be able to do this again until next year.
Well, any ordinance change that we make that happens to it. They sit there in a pile until you recodify the ordinance. Or once a year, they'll take them, the company will take them and they'll change the pages, and you change the pages in the book. But I'm just saying, it really disturbs me that we can't change what's on the website.
So
Or do I add the changes separately onto the website?
I was looking today, and the Village of Walworth, I believe, I couldn't find their main set of ordinances, which is a problem, but they had every year, any change that was made, there was a PDF document. So it'd say 2026, and then there's a list of ordinances that were changed. So that would be an option. Like maybe you could have ordinances and then a list of updated ordinances that people could, it would be a little messy because you have to cross-reference what got changed, but it's double-edged sword because it's nice to have them online, but then if they're not up to date, they
Yeah.
don't really do anything.
If we're taking out, what you'd like to do is take out the license and trimming, correct?
Yeah, because we're not enforcing that anyways, so why, nobody has a license for the tree trimming or tree
Okay.
removal, so if that's just removed, it just clears that issue up.
Okay, so then what did we do with C?
Well, we talked about adding just some verbiage talking about the removal of the tree, like, to the ground. I don't think you think that's necessary, I mean, cause tree removal
guess
means removing the tree.
If we're,
Not just removing
if we're
the lights.
changing the ordinance, just put in there, includes stuff.
In this paragraph C?
Yeah. Somewhere in, wherever it says.
So maybe after shall be removed to the ground, shall be removed including the stump.
Yeah.
By the abutting property owner. So
Where is that?
it's, I don't know if your paragraph is saying,
Third sentence down, or third line down.
right after it says shall be removed. So C, four
C?
lines down. So it's,
Shall be removed, okay. To the ground?
yeah. I think it should be clear, saying that it should be removed, that you're not leaving pieces of it there, but that would just be a few extra words to make it extra clear.
Should be.
Eric, when you send these letters out, are they gonna get a copy of the ordinance?
What's the alternative assessment method? To say that we're gonna put it on their taxes? Or would we do a special assessment for it?
See if I can find this code. Yeah, so it's that Wisconsin statute, it's, talking about is allowing villages to put, services on tax bills. So if it came to it where you had to pay somebody to remove it, that just gives you the option to put it on their taxes.
Okay. And we wanna leave that. What'd we decide about the permit for planting?
I think we leave that.
Leave it?
Otherwise, I think you're gonna end up with people planting all sorts of.
Yeah, I mean, I would still like to go further into that DNR document and revamp the whole, tree ordinance as far as, making it more, not just about removal, but about incentives to plant and stuff like that, but this isn't necessarily time to do it, that's gonna take a lot more time. So I think just those two simple changes is all we had talked about at the last couple meetings.
So do you want me to do it up, send it to you, you guys can review it, if there's a problem, you can let me know? And then put it on the board agenda as an ordinance amendment? Is that what you want me to do?
Sure. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion, we put this, the new changes on the, board agenda to get approval.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item on, we're good, Dawn, right? We're good?
I think so.
Okay, next item, non-vehicle slash boat street parking. I know this was brought up, Butch asked me to put this on the public works, or the general ops committee. I know we reviewed the ordinances, and there is a 48-hour parking ordinance, which would allow, that's not here,
Is
would
there?
allow the police to
Is that a
ticket.
48-hour notice out there? 48 days?
So, I mean, we do have the option to ticket these vehicles or trailers.
And if you notice, if you go by on North Street, half those cars and them boats are not registered.
The boat wouldn't have to be registered. The
That
trailer
has to be registered with the DNR. So it should have numbers on the side,
on the water, not on the trailer.
but the trailer doesn't even have a
Well,
license,
that's
nothing.
a problem. The trailer would have to have a license.
The
boat-
trailer doesn't have a license, and the cars don't have license.
State of Wisconsin, the boat doesn't, boat trailer doesn't have a license. Yeah, that boat rarely moves.
I know. How well I know?
I think maybe to broaden the discussion, so it doesn't sound like we're here focusing on one individual. Like we said, we have the ordinance in place that says 48-hour parking on any public street. There is also a state, I don't know if it's an ordinance necessarily, but it's a regulation that if an intersection involves a county or state highway, that they have to be 15 feet from the intersection, or there's some wording about like without impeding the visual triangle. So I think say this, I think we have ordinances in place that could deal with this, we just need to,
Is
enforce
that in
them.
the traffic section? You
The-
think? That the one, the ordinance, the state
the
ordinance?
state ordinance.
I think so.
I had the number, I can't
Because
remember
they
off the
could,
top of my
I
head.
mean, they could already do that.
They can do
They
both
could,
of these,
yeah.
we have an ordinance in our own village ordinances that says 48 hours a vehicle has to move, and if, you know, whether they do it by documenting it as they're patrolling, or if go around and put a, you know, get them a chalk stick.
And what happens, okay,
They'll just move it
yeah,
a little
Well,
bit.
Well, but
yeah,
that,
they'll move it a
that
little bit and they'll say, well, it's not in the same spot.
that is,
that is a problem.
That is what he did, actually.
right, I mean, that is what people do that park on streets, whether
Yeah.
it's a car or.
They'll just
trailer.
move it and say,
Now, is that property considered part of the business district? Because I believe every other street in the business district has 2-hour parking.
there's no signs there that say 2-hour parking, so.
I know Baldwin and Plain have
You know
that.
what? I think it might be.
There's a lot in the business district that is residential.
Station Street.
Yes, it's B1, it is central business district.
So is all business district a 2-hour parking, or is it street by street?
Pardon me?
Is all of the business district a 2-hour parking, or is it, street by street?
I don't think, I wouldn't say it all is.
I would say that Baldwin is for sure, Plain is for sure. I don't know, is there a sign by the bowling alley?
Mm-mm.
It was like that for the businesses, to keep people from monopolizing a parking spot when we had a lot of businesses
It
out there.
hasn't worked.
Well, the unfortunate thing about that street then is that it's part of the business district. However, at some point in the past, we decided where the business parking stopped, and we just kind of left that other section to just kind of be no man's land, not really controlled. And it wasn't a problem until
Until it is a problem.
it is a problem. So,
I mean, I think,
but we have teeth in our own ordinance to enforce this, not just on that street for that individual, but
Garbage street.
for any street that touches Martin Street,
right,
you gotta be 15 feet away,
and it has to be moved every 48 hours.
and it has to be moved every 48 hours.
I mean, if there is a problem vehicle or a trailer, I think the police just need to stay on top of it, and I don't know, that if we need to chalk the tires or to prove whether or not it's moved.
Is there a certain distance though? I mean, like Karen was saying, you can move it a little bit, but I mean, if there's no definitive amount that you have to move it, they could just,
I don't know what that
Go back and
definition, I would
forth.
think you have
it's
to,
a really quick solution.
What'd you say?
I think it's a really easy solution.
Okay, go ahead.
We're all ears.
Yeah,
leave us
Across
hanging.
that hallway.
well, I'm saying.
I mean, I think
Rather than running rolling stops 24 hours a day.
Yeah. It's bad. It's
So-
bad coming around there and especially in, I mean, in the winter time, they sometimes have cars out there.
well, so for instance, for this issue this is about a non-vehicle and boat parking. But we also have 2-hour parking downtown. We also have 24-hour parking in the slot behind us,
And we don't enforce it.
and we don't enforce it.
I know. I come downtown at 5 o'clock in the morning and there's like 6 cars up between their business and Oakie's business every single morning. And you know they've been parked there longer than 2 hours.
well, they don't move all day.
They're there at 3 a.m. too.
I know, yeah. I
So I
know
don't-
they're there at 5 a.m.
It's not, again, it's not an ordinance issue, it's an enforcement issue.
It's an enforcement issue,
There's no
yes.
actionable
It's not an
action.
ordinance, it's an
There's nothing
enforcement.
we can take action on with this if we're saying we
I
already
think
have
this
it.
has to be brought to the public safety.
Well,
This,
was
this,
that where it was discussed last month, or was it just kind of discussed in
you know, I'd
general?
have to look back at my notes.
I don't remember if it was
mentioned it.
Yeah,
To
I think
get
we
them to
need
move
to,
it.
put it on the public send it to the public safety
I would agree.
and start
Are you
enforcing.
waving at me?
If I remember correctly, it started because of the snow plowing in the easement in the terrace. Then the chief took it upon himself to say, can I start enforcing the grass parking? And then the boat was brought up. But it started with the people parking in the ditches and leaving ruts, and then it escalated from there.
It's like a game of telephone. It just keeps.
And then it went onto the grass on their front yard and their backyard, and then it went into the boat, and then it carried
I think
on.
that's-
You're right.
If that helps.
I think we send this to the public safety,
And then public safety.
and the public safety,
Well, it doesn't even really need to go to the board, it just needs to be,
right, it needs to be enforced. But it needs to be brought to the public safety committee.
Isn't there something that you can't park? Things that aren't actually vehicles and drivable on the street?
No, it's actually, because it's, I just looked this up, it's because that area can be considered a parking, because we have parking on that street. We don't have any no parking sign up. I think it was limited to like tractor trailers and semis or something can't park there, if I remember reading it right. I think you can park trailers. I don't know if it says you gotta be hooked to a truck
I
or
think
not.
it stemmed from, there used to be a guy with a reefer trailer.
Yep.
Yeah,
And it would just scream all night. So I think that's what really.
And that's what, yeah, because he used to park them.
but so I don't think we have anything that would say that you can't park a trailer on a village street. I don't think that's in there.
and I don't think it necessarily needs to be in there, as long as this trailer is moved, similar as a car has to move every so often, it can't just sit there as a permanent parking spot.
If this was a
Like
systemic
that one
issue,
out there.
like if this was a systemic issue across the town that we had cars loitering everywhere on the streets, then maybe we need to change something. But I think we have the tools right here. There's one paragraph right here. It says in 2 days, if you don't move your car, you're getting a ticket.
Just need to do it.
This needs to be enforced.
Ready to move on to the next agenda item? So emergency shelter options and policies, had a community member, approach me about, she was concerned about tornado shelters for the trailer park.
Modular home park.
Yep, so,
Excuse me.
sorry.
Class it up.
Modular home park.
She said the church used to open, but now nobody is available, nobody lives at the parsonage, to open a church, and she was hoping that the village could come up with something sustainable that, residents, either from the modular home community, or to anybody that maybe doesn't have a basement in the area that needs a storm shelter. I would like to also broaden that to our warming cooling centers. I know last year during one of the extreme cold weather snaps, our warming center, which is the library, stayed closed because of illness and things like that. They weren't able to open. But if anybody ever needed to use that and we don't have it available, you know, it puts people in a bind. So I guess what I was hoping is that we could send this to the board, to get the board's blessing, to look into policies, and any emergency shelter options. We need to contact the school to see if the school is available as an emergency shelter. We don't have any Red Cross shelters or, availability in Sharon or Darien, I don't think. I think the closest would be Walworth. And with the number of storms increasing, Adam, what was that statistic?
So I looked at the Walworth County Hazard Mitigation Plan, and that's outdated. I believe it was 2021. In fact, they're actually going to be renewing that plan. But but they said from 1950 to 2021, I believe there was 28 tornadoes that caused damage. From 21 to today, there's been 13. So in the last 6 years, we've had almost half of the same amount of tornadoes we've had in the last 70 years. So things are obviously shifting. We're getting in a little bit more of a bullseye. And I know that we're involved in the county plan, but I don't know, and this is something I think if we were able to look into it more, I don't know how far that plan reaches. I don't know how quickly that gets enacted. So if we have to cover, if we have a couple days before FEMA, Red Cross, whatever, gets involved, we probably should look into coming up with some sort of a plan, just so, God forbid something happens, we can tell people what to do.
We hope that it's something we never have to utilize, but I would like to see some sort of a draft of a plan in place. So if XYZ happens, then we have a policy that this is what we do.
We do have an emergency, what's it called, emergency operations plan for disasters. Like,
But is that in the code? Because I looked at, just briefly, and I think it talked about like emergency government and like kind of changing the powers of government and declaring an emergency. But as far as, this facility will be open, or, how we can help the residents in an immediate emergency situation.
yeah, our emergency plan is more for what happens if the town is wiped out by a tornado,
Right.
or that type of thing.
But that's what spurs this thought in my head is, if that storm would have come 4 miles south from where it hit just this past weekend, we'd all be sitting here and we'd be Lake Geneva, or we'd be Como. Are we as a government body, are we able to act on that quickly and when people come to us? I don't know if we have that plan.
What would you provide? I mean, this building
Well, I think,
is cooling center, we do
I think there
have it
is-
open for the nobody comes in here.
But that's a good thing.
There
That
is
means that people don't need it, but if they are out of power and they need it. then
There
it's,
is some groundwork there, and I think Mark and Carl would be the resource for that. But like we have emergency plans and stuff for, if power goes out, for water, sewer, stuff like that. Not gonna lie, you drive down South Shore Drive, and all of their lift stations are all generator power, and they've been running since Friday. And neither of our lift stations have generator power. So, it's like very eye-opening.
And I think, we are part of the county mitigation plan. And so because we're part of the county mitigation plan, that opens up opportunities for some FEMA grant assistance for different emergency apparatus. I just don't know if that's ever been discussed. And like you said, if Carl and Mark have a plan, like maybe we could get that handed out to us, or have
Make sure
a
it's up to date.
conference, so. Cause I think, like it or not, obviously the severe storm corridor is moving, and I think we're kind of getting to be in the bullseye of it.
I'd rather be prepared and never have to use it than be caught in a disaster situation where it's potentially life or death for our residents, and we don't have a plan to at least send them in the correct direction for help.
It's really hard to plan for that, like, even with that storm, it came
so fast.
fast.
Mhm. It came fast.
I
And
had a 2-hour notification on my phone.
I did too, and I kept watching
I
the
was in
sky.
town and I never had.
Yeah,
A lot of
notification.
people didn't,
So-
I don't know.
A
so
lot of people
I should
didn't.
caveat that, I had a 2-hour notification because I looked. My tornado warning went off after the storm had already passed.
Yep.
So,
I never got any notification. You were in Walworth and I was in Sharon, and I didn't get, the only reason I knew is because our door blew open and I looked out and I'm like, oh.
I didn't get any notification either, but
I did, on my phone, I had
I
enough
saw
time to
the
get my
sky
dog
getting
out
dark, and
and go,
Yeah.
and come back in.
so I think what I would like to see come from this is we already have a plan in place of what to do when that happens, what is it? And if we don't, maybe we should have something that says, just because the National Weather Service doesn't say something, if somebody here sees something, we should be able to enact. You know, I know that, are the sirens, those, we don't control those anymore.
No, they're
Or the county does.
digital from
Yeah.
the county.
Did they go off?
No,
No.
No,
no,
they did not go off here.
if, like, let's say,
Cause it wasn't a tornado.
They went off, no, but I know what, mine went off in Elkhorn.
can we
And they went off in like.
initiate the sirens without the county? We have no control over that now.
Maybe
We
Brad
used
does.
to, but I don't think we do
I don't
anymore.
think we do.
We used to be able to run upstairs and
Ring the bell.
switch.
So I mean, that's where, I think what is being asked here is that for the board to allow the process to begin, to just put in some guidelines to say, storms coming, I don't know, does the police go around on a loudspeaker?
Everybody go home.
Right, everybody.
You know, look, years ago,
They used to do.
I'm not giving my age now. The rescue squad units from the village used to go around up and down every street.
Yeah.
And warn the residents that there was a severe storm coming, take cover. That's what they used to say.
Right.
Now they don't do that anymore because manpower, I'm sure, and everything else, but years ago, that's how we were
Tom's
informed.
waving at
Can
me.
I add again? Being on the fire department, for afterwards, if something was happening, we had, which you guys should probably check with the fire department first, we had a resource book. In the resource book, we had connections with Pace Bus. So if we needed buses to warm people or cool people that were displaced, we can make the phone call to Pace Bus, they would show up with buses, people would go into buses. We had a school bus on speed dial, basically, that they were willing to come and help us if need be. Same thing with tow truck companies, cranes, if we needed a front end loader or a bulldozer or whatever, we had Aero Construction that was willing to, said, hey, 24 hours a day, here's the phone number that you guys call and we'll bring you the resources. So, but that was for after the fact. I think you guys are also talking about before the fact, which would be the commitment of the school being open or this place being open or somewhere for people that are out on the street that need to run and hide somewhere. So that needs to be discussed too. So there's kind of the pre, but then there's also the post
Right. And I
with the
think,
resources basically. But like those buses, we used them multiple times. We had a fire and it was 30 below zero outside. We made a phone call to Pace Bus. The families went in the Pace Bus. They stayed warm until Red Cross or whoever showed up and helped out. So, but the fire department might have the same thing here already with resources.
Mark said the other day, Karen, you were here when he said that, he leaves his back door open when the weather gets like that. And somebody from the
Yeah.
manufactured home comes over, I don't know who it is.
I don't either,
But-
but he said he leaves it on, open for them.
I just don't, like, I don't know the exact number of people that live up there, but is there enough houses on Park Street for them to all go sit in their living room with them, you know?
I don't know, but if I lived in one of those things, I think I would make sure that I had.
Does Kip and Debs have a basement?
Yeah, exactly.
Kip and Debs has a basement. Kip and Debs has a basement, yes, yeah. Underwater.
It just was, it was very eye-opening to hear that there were several people that wanted to go somewhere like the church or something, and that door is not open anymore.
A few years ago.
What door?
The church.
A few years ago, when
Oh,
our
yeah.
pastor lived next to the church, they opened the church, cause I remember going up there and sitting for a few hours cause I don't have a basement, I live over there in the modular home park, and, my niece didn't live where she lives right now, so I had nowhere to go. But Kip and Deb's when Kip was alive, he always told us, get over here in my basement. Yeah, cause I can run across the backyard there, but not everybody knows that in that modular home park.
So
Where
There's
do I
probably been
go?
a lot of turnover,
No,
so,
and maybe that's something when, someday when they come to the planning commission and want to expand, you make them put in some sort of a storm shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And
You know, I
there
know-
are several towns in Wisconsin that require that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We have nothing up there, nothing,
Right.
When Dave was alive, he always told me, grab the dog and run down the lane and get in that ditch, cause there's a ditch down there going down. He said, lay flat and cover the dog. I said, okay,
And your head.
in my head, yeah.
So then, I guess, can you check with Mark and Carl and see if we can get a copy of like what our plan is?
Like as far as like equipment and all that stuff, I'm part of that network, the county network, and I have like a declaration of everything, like all the equipment, you know, what Walworth has, what Sharon has, what Darien has, and then, you know, I can call
Yeah.
and get all that stuff. You know, that's Friday night. I was up in the township till 8 o'clock at night pushing trees with Rick because we didn't have much damage down here.
Well, even with the plan that we have, first off, it probably needs to be updated.
Right.
And, we're lax, you know, we all used to have, IDs for whatever department you would have been working in, like mine would have been more of a financial, this, you know, this building, so that's what my, what do you call them, ID said, and Wolf made them up, and they look like regular IDs, but it wouldn't let me go into another area, you know what I mean, like say A, B, and C, I'm in A, but it wouldn't let me go over to B because somebody would be there checking, like if you didn't belong there, so that people weren't getting in where they don't belong. And I mean, it has a lot of stuff like that in it, but it also, at the time, they told us all of the board members had to go through the training, and I haven't even heard if they do that training anymore. So yes, I think it
I
is
didn't see
something
anything
that
in
probably needs to be looked at.
I do know I did reach out to our county hazard mitigation officer. And he said that they are going to be renewing the plan in the coming months, he said. And if we want to, we can include somebody from Sharon to help with that plan. But again, I don't think that covers our like immediate crisis plan. Because you know if there's an immediate crisis, you're gonna have people wandering the streets.
Walworth County Incident Command, they were down here by like 4 o'clock. They were just north of my house.
Yeah.
You know, so they do have good response.
But that was, I agree with you.
Yeah,
That was a few farmhouses. If we had a hit where there was
for sure.
20 houses that were hit or something,
Yeah, case
that's a lot of bodies.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess if you could find that, a copy of that, and we could probably review it at some time.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn,
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
all in favor?
I
Aye.
You know, when I always tell everybody, I go, this one's coming, I go, well, if my house gets blown away, look for me in Kansas and look for the red shoes, I'll make sure I have my red shoes on.
You're gonna go to Mark's house.